I am so excited to have this co-host with us this week. She is the captain of the Southside Flyers. Hello, Aimie Rocci.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. It's so good to see you. We've got a lot to talk about today. It's been a huge news week, definitely the biggest news week of the Signet WNBL 23 season. And the big story this week was the Caps broke through for their first win.
Aren't we all happy about it too?
Everyone
I forget that I'm a player. Well, I know, sorry, Bendigo. I'm I know I'm still a current player in the league, but I was a fangirl that day, watching the game. I love home and away, and I didn't watch that episode because that game was on. That's how important it was to me, but I was cheering on the couch and didn't even know who I was. A few flexes.
Felicity and Tane can wait. We can bench them. It was incredible. We will talk plenty about it. And their coach, Kristen Veal, will join us a bit later in the show after her first career win as a WNBL coach as well. There were so many storylines in that victory, which was awesome after starting the season. 9-12. They're now 1-12, which is fantastic. But let's talk through some of the big news items of the week. So the Caps got their first win last Wednesday. The Flyers have announced that they are in pursuit of the biggest ever WNBL crowd. They are honouring the GOAT Lauren Jackson on February 4 at John Cain Arena against the Sydney Flames.
Yeah.
How exciting is this for the Flyers?
It is. I think we've sold a fair few tickets already, and the aim is to try and sell it out. So if we can do that, it is going to be quite the show. We know LJ brings in crowds already, but if we can bring in, I think, what does it hold, 9,000? Would be amazing.
So we're looking to break the WNBL record, and that's been said a lot in the last week. We need to know what the WNBL record is, and I've got this stat thanks to Tracy Browning.
You always have stats.
No, but I get them from other people, so I just attribute where I got it from. So the WNBL record crowd is 7,100 at the 1995 Grand Final at the Clipsal Powerhouse in Adelaide. It was the Lightning and the Melbourne Tigers. Adelaide won in double overtime, Aimie Rocci.
Really?
Double OT in a grand final.
With how many? 7,000?
7,100. Can we beat 7,100?
Yep. Let's say it right now. We can.
It's going to be awesome.
We've got LJ.
The GOAT.
Right.
It's going to be
silly
awesome.
If you don't come.
Yeah. Yeah. So snap up your tickets has been a good start to ticket sales, which went on sale last week. So very much looking forward to that. What else happened last week? Oh, we announced an Opal squad because there's an Olympics next year. What?
That has come around so fast.
Now, I saw today, I'll put it on my socials, the Olympics is in Paris next year. The Olympics, as in the brand that is the Olympics, have done a commercial with Paris Hilton about the Olympics being in Paris, and that's hot.
Okay, how do we feel about that?
I'm fine with it. I'm so fine with it. I'll share it on my socials, but
I've not seen that.
A collaboration we did not expect.
Yeah. Do you think she's played sport before? I wonder if she's got a sporting background.
I think she's big into women's basketball, so I think Paris will be eagerly watching the Opals fighting for a place on the podium in Paris next year.
I like
it too. It's creative. So the squad was announced last week. We've all seen and read it, which is great. Lots of little stories in there. One that I love with a Flyers angle is Nards. Your young gun's made the squad for the first time.
She has. She's super excited. We're all very proud of her. She's not only an exciting prospect for the future, but she's already exciting. She's playing decent minutes in the WNBL. First year in the WNBL. I can't even remember what I was like my first year in the WNBL. I certainly wasn't performing like she is. So, so exciting that she's made it.
So I remember, I say it like I remember, like it was years ago. It was a few months ago. You played Boomers in a practice match at Keilor.
Yeah.
It was like the week after the World Cup, it was a week to the bronze medal game because Cheryl was there coaching the Rose Gold game, assistant coaching, and then literally the next Saturday night you're at Killer playing Boomers. And Nard started in that game and she was fantastic, but there was a really great crowd there that night and I just saw her and thought, wow, these are your first WNBL minutes. Yeah, it's a practice game, but wow.
Yeah. she shot the lights out, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's beat, what was it? The game against Bendigo. She went 4 from 4, I think, from the 3. So yeah, she can light it up, and she's long and athletic and versatile. So she'll be one to watch for sure.
Lots of great young talent in the squad. Her COE teammates Shanice Swain and Izzy Borlace in there as well, all coached by Kristen Veal, who we'll talk to later. But it's a really nice squad. It's big, and obviously they've got an Asia Cup this year leading into Paris Olympics next year. But it looks to be a really good experience, a really good mix, of youth and experience.
Yeah, for sure. If you can get them in nice and early and get them through camps and Asia Cups, and I suppose the other important thing is culture, trying to, get to know the Opals culture, and while those veterans are still there, they can teach them a thing or two. And hopefully they're our future moving forward.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Speaking of Opals, news during the week that Opals captain Tess Madgen will miss the remainder of the WNBL season. She did get up for the big derby against Southside 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately she's going to be sidelined for the rest of it. And that's really disappointing news for Tess and the Boomers.
Yeah, like no one wants to see such a quality player, announce something like that. Whatever time frame she was obviously given, she tried to make it back for. And I think any athlete will tell you can be told 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It's a long time before you feel like yourself. So I just wish her all the best and hope she feels like herself, sooner rather than later, because she's got, as we just said, with the Opal squad, a big year ahead and much to look forward to.
If there's a positive out of this for the Boomers, it's got to be that they've had most of their campaign without her, bar 17 minutes, I think, against Southside.
Yeah.
They've done exceptionally well without her being in the starting lineup, and there with the leadership. So I think for the Boomers, that is a huge positive that they've adjusted well to life without her. So perhaps it's not the biggest shock to the system having to revert back to that after she did get back on court. So.
Yeah, true. I'm sure they were looking forward to getting her back, and she would have added something more to them, but yeah, you're right. They're killing it at the moment.
They sure are.
Yeah.
And finally, I want to talk about Adelaide Lightning, because they had a pride round at the weekend in their games against Sydney and Bendigo. It was a collaboration with Queer Alliance, and it was led a lot by Marina Whittle, one of their players. I loved to see this. I loved everything they did around promoting it, the education, the jumpers, a club-led initiative in the league. What did you think of it? And would you like to see, well, I personally would like to see a full league pride round. Is it something you would like to see as a captain of your own team?
Yeah, I think it would be something that lots of teams would support. And in our Players Association group, our delegate group, we talk about things like this all the time. Unfortunately, you can't have a round, I suppose, for everything that everyone's passionate about. We do the two, and then clubs sort of have the ability to run their own. So it was really cool that Adelaide got behind that one. It's such an important thing to raise awareness about, and it's such a prominent thing in sport. We have the ability to be so inclusive and treat everyone equally, and I loved it. And good on Marina Whittle for driving that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. We can't have themed rounds every week, and every cause is worthy. But for me, the ones that stand out most are the ones that align to our athletes. So something like Pride Round, obviously Indigenous Round, Mental Health Round, which is something you've played a huge role in leading at Southside with Jenna O'Hay. Are you guys going to be doing something again this season around that?
Yeah, we are. Ours is more towards the end of the season because, like you said, there's so many causes, and we don't want to take any spotlight away from them, and they deserve their own platform. So we're trying to work that in, I think, after Indigenous Round.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that Southside will hopefully continue forever now while the WNBL is running, because, like you said, it hits home for a lot of people. Jenna O'Hay is such a important figure in Australian basketball and to us as well. So if we can keep that going for her, I think it will mean the world to her and a lot of other people.
Yeah, and you did phenomenal work last season.
Thank you.
Getting that round up when Jenna was going through a really tough time, and I think you showed your leadership and the quality you are as a person and a leader. The other one I want to mention that the Caps will be doing later in the season, led by Alex Bunton, after she shared her story nearly 12 months ago about being a victim of domestic violence. They're going to be doing something as well. So I love that these rounds and causes that that have such a genuine, link to our players. And it's, just full respect to our players who are taking it upon themselves to drive change and create awareness. Aimie, let's talk about you because you've been sidelined for five weeks now with a back injury. Can you give us a bit of a medical update? Where are you at?
Yeah, unfortunately, I came into the season with a stress fracture in my lower back. Had about 12 weeks off, NBL 1. Got through the preseason sort of on my own. I was without the team because I was trying to build back up. Hit round 1, and I think I managed to play 7 games. But over the course of those 7 games, the other side of my back went. So the initial sort of diagnosis is 8 weeks for that bone to heal. Like you said, week 5. I'll get a scan at 8 weeks, and then it's all kind of dependent on that as to where we go from there. All going well, hopefully make it back for finals. That's certainly my goal, but in what capacity, not really sure. If I can warm up with the team and be a part of it, I'll be happy with that at this stage. But hopefully I'll be able to actually get on court and play some minutes to finish off the season. That would be ideal.
It's great to hear that from the horse's mouth, and I think you've been a huge loss for Southside, and that's, I guess, saying something about what you bring to the team on and off the floor, because we know the Flyers have been flying, but you're captain this year, which I think was just such a wonderful appointment. In those, I think you said 7 games you played?
I think so.
Think about
something
7.
Like that.
You came on and did what you always do. And I think Shez would have been like, oh, thank God we signed Mon because
I know.
Because
Lucky.
without you there, and obviously you lost Dallas early, that would have been a huge hole. First season as captain of the Flyers, you take over from Jenna. You've been such an amazing servant of this league for, I think, is it your 13th season?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. What does it mean to be captain of a club? Is it something you're really proud of?
It is, yeah. I didn't expect it, which sounds silly because I do feel like I'm a leader in the team, but I kind of do it in my own way, which doesn't always look like captain material. I'm not super loud or anything like that, and I'm never the best player on the court, but I think – to have your teammates recognise something in you that you take a lot of pride in, it is something that I'm very proud of.
I think it's so wonderful. We were chatting at the Flyers Boomers game a few weeks ago. I was going to say the Cage. It's still the Cage to me, Parkville.
Yeah.
We were talking about, I think, was it your first season or second season playing for Dandenong in a championship? Yeah. That was an epic grand final, the 2 Victorian teams. That was an unbelievable highlight early on in your career.
I think I was fresh 18, maybe even 17. It was scary. Sitting on the bench, the atmosphere was crazy. We had Jenna on our team, Kath McLeod, Alison Downey. I just remember her doing this crazy job on Liz Cambridge playing for Melbourne at the time. So yeah, and they beat us every game that season.
They did.
We talked about that too. Because it was looking at the Michelle Timms Cup.
Yeah.
They beat us 3 times and then we beat them in the grand final. So it was epic.
Let's look back at round 10 now. As we said earlier, it was the round where the Caps came up with their breakthrough win, 92 to 85 winners over Bendigo. Started well, the Caps, and they did what they haven't been able to do all season, and that is just maintain a lead and repel the runs from the opposition.
Yeah, I think I said that to Kristen, my husband, at halftime. We're like, oh, this is like they've got them here, but they haven't managed to sort of hold on to those leads. So it was like edge of your seat stuff, I thought anyway.
Did you think, were you watching thinking tonight's the night, like they're going to do it here? Did it feel different?
Yeah, I did think that they could get it done, but I was still like a bit worried in that third quarter. Like they've managed to sort of stick with teams up until halftime majority of the season. But then when Ray Burrell just had a fourth quarter that I've never seen before, like, and how many and ones did she have? It was just tough shots. Tough finishes.
24 points for Ray Burrell. Shanice Swain in the Opal squad. She's played a huge part for Canberra this year. 19 years old, 22.6 boards. Jade Melbourne with an 18 point, 11 assist double-double.
Yes.
30 and 12 for Annalee Maley. So she had a big performance. But we must mention that Kelsey Griffin went off injured early for Bendigo. That certainly played a part for the spirit on the night, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. She's a massive driver of just their energy even. So, yeah, big loss.
Yeah, that was incredible. I'm still getting over that. I sobbed like a baby at the end of that game.
I saw your Instagram story.
I just was so I could just feel what it meant to them. And you never want to see a team go through winless. Bendigo did it in the hub, although that was a bit of a different season. But just so happy for the Caps. Let's move on now and have a look at, this was setting the tone for what really was a round of upsets in a lot of ways. Yeah. Sydney snatched the victory over Adelaide, 81-77. Jocelyn Willoughby, their import, had 21-8-6. Ball Lace, fresh off being named in the Opals team, 19-5-4. Marina Whittle had a double-double, 19-10. Steph Talbot sat out a lot of this game injured. So interesting, again, another stud sitting out and their team sort of having a bit of a shock loss, but Sydney played really well.
Well, they came back from 20 points down or something, which was just amazing. Like, you would have turned that game on halftime and thought it was probably over, but they didn't give up.
Keely Froling in the wars, as usual, with
that. Poor girl.
Oh, my gosh. Did you see the photo with the stitches?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like an extension of her eyebrow. She went off just before halftime, came back on bandage. It wasn't really a bandage because it was black. It was more like an 80s headband.
Yeah, now she looks like she's wearing a headband.
And, yeah, it was something maybe Jenny Froling would have rocked back for the Nuttawat Spectres, but she's tough, isn't she? She's a Froling.
Yep.
Now, another somewhat of an upset over in Perth on Friday night with the Lynx beating your Flyers 94-86. Sammy Whitcomb came up huge, 33 points, 12 of 20 from the field, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. And Amy Atwell, after being named in the Opals for the first time, shooter, 5 of 7 from the 3-point line among her 25 points. And your sister-in-law, Aimie Rocci, with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists.
Very nice, Maddie.
Was it a bit of a come down after what had been a huge week knocking off Melbourne and Bendigo?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we played amazing in those 2 games. I was so proud of the girls, especially, I know we won by a lot against Bendigo, but the way we went about the Boomers game, like we played fantastic. But that's our benchmark now. So it really disappoints us as a team when we come out and play like we did against Perth. But in saying that, like, they're a great team. Like, Sammy Whitcomb did Sammy Whitcomb things. Lauren Scherf's having the best season of her life. Chloe Bibby's form. So, you know, we needed to come in focus. We're not just going to beat teams. Like, they're trying to get that 4th spot in the top 4. But it's a good reality check for right now. We'd rather be learning these lessons now than in finals. So, plenty to work on, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I
think a lot of credit needs to be given to Perth as well, rather than, you know, beating down on Southside after the week they had before. Perth, I mean, they were studded last year with Jackie Young and Marina. They've lost those 2, plus Darcy Garvin, plus Chiba, and then Emma Clark got off the bench. So they've had big changes, and they had a slow start as they adjusted, but they are coming now. I'm just looking at the ladder. So Boomers are 11-2, 2 games ahead of the Flyers, and Bendigo are 9-4. We've got Townsville in 4th spot and 7-4, and then Perth a game behind now on 6. So Perth are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've got plenty to play for.
Yeah, and tough at home,
as
we know.
It is.
It's tough.
I mean, we don't like to make excuses, but, you know, the travel there, the girls flew in late, the time difference. So we definitely needed to come in a bit more focused and.
Well, they were having dinner at 1 a.m. or something, I heard. Like, it was, So, I mean, look, we're not making excuses, but they are factors.
Perth have to do it, you know, every second week. So it's not really an excuse at all.
Yeah. Now we head down to Traralgon now, where it was great to see WNBL head to regional Victoria. It was the Jade Melbourne showcase centrepiece. They all came out to watch Jade. They sure do. We love her so much.
I'm a Jade Melbourne fan.
Yeah. I love that for you. Why not? She's just a breath of fresh air.
She is.
Isn't she? But it was the Kayla George show, 37 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Now, we must mention that the Caps throughout the round were without Alex Bunton. Britt Smart pulled out, no M. Whittle-Harmon, no Schwag Meyer-Belger, and obviously Gemma Potter, who was our co-host last week. So 5 significant outs. But Kayla is having an incredible season, and double-doubles is what she does.
Yeah. Like, it's just the norm now. That's what she's averaging. I think she's probably in the on top spot for MVP at the moment of the league. She's having a very good season. Must be the baby.
It's Pearl.
It's motherhood,
it's
right?
It's the Pearl effect.
Yeah. Has
Love
to be.
that. Melbourne were without both imports on Saturday. I'm not sure why, whether they were niggling injuries, but great to see Sophie Burrows score her first WNBL points, and Ray Burrell continued her great weekend with 22 points and 7 rebounds, which is no mean feat against the top of the table Boomers. Let's move on to Bendigo, who would have been oh so relieved to get back on the winners list after 3 straight losses, which is incredible given the start to the season. They had 86-68 victors over Adelaide, who ended up losing their both games of the weekend. No Talbot. Brooke Basham had her first career start, which was fantastic for them. And 5 Bendigo players were in double figures. Meg McKay off the bench, 17 points, 8 of 8 from the field in 16 minutes court time.
Very efficient.
Yeah, and back to the basketball that had them on a winning streak.
Yeah.
So many contributors.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether you want to go a whole season undefeated. It's nice, but, you know, you want to hit your best form come finals. So they've had a little dip, and I'm sure they'll figure it out and come home strong.
KG played too, so
she's okay.
She's okay.
Good. We like that because she's in the hunt for MVP too, if you ask me.
Isn't she? And it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you look at Bendigo and go, okay, Annalie and Kelsey are going to steal votes off each other. Then maybe Alex Wilson's had a good year too, gone under the radar a bit. You look at Melbourne, Tiff Mitchell started on fire. Kayla's been so consistent.
Yeah.
Christy Wallace.
Wally,
Mia Murray.
Well, Mia Murray would have stolen votes in that game. She went for 30-something. She was unbelievable.
34. So it's going to be so interesting. And then I'm putting Steph Talbot back in the mix.
Yeah.
MVP winner in the hub, runner-up to Annalie last year. Now, Adelaide, they've been around the mark. Not sure who's stealing votes off her.
Yeah.
Belace, definitely.
Yeah.
But I like Talbot.
Yeah, we got asked this at the season launch, and my tip was Steph Talbot.
Hey.
So I wouldn't be mad, just so I'm right.
No, we would. And never mad about anything that comes to Talbot. And then closing out the round on Sunday, it was the Fire and the Flames, and it was Townsville who came out on top 92-77. Michaela Roof, loved seeing this, 26 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Another one I reckon that goes under the radar. She's been a really big inclusion for Townsville after coming from Canberra, and particularly without Z for a middle, stretch of the season. Yeah,
had to step up a lot without Z, for sure.
Yeah.
I thought again though that the Flames really stayed with them for a while there, and I thought it might have been an upset, but Townsville ran over in the end,
So 4 Sydney players were in double digits. Willoughby, Heel played really well again. Their defense has improved out of sight. We'll talk about them a bit more in the preview because you guys have got them
we do.
this week. But yeah, they've been, a big improver, and they certainly showed that against Adelaide, getting that upset earlier in the round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now on the WNBL show, it's time to catch up with a very happy UC Capitals coach. Here's Kristen Veal. Well, Aimie, when the first game of the round last Wednesday night concluded, our guest for this week was set. We can't talk to anyone else but the coach of the UC Capitals. Kristen Veal joins us. Vealie, welcome and congratulations on the Caps' first win of WNBL 23.
Hey guys, pleasure to be here. Definitely after, a better result than some of the other ones. So we've got something fun to talk about for a change.
We sure have. Let's start though. It was your first career win as a head coach. I know it's all about the team, but I'm sure you're happy just to tick that box and then hopefully add plenty more to that ledger.
Maybe. And I've thought about it a little bit. To be honest, it was never really kind of about my first win. So it's kind of nice to get that off the table. But when you've lost whatever it was, 12 straight, you start not thinking and worrying about records. Let's count it. Let's get off to the races. Super excited for them.
We are so counting it. How have you kept the morale and the confidence and the belief up in the group over the space of those first 12 games? Because you've had a lot of adversity and we will talk about that, but it's a young group. You're a first-year coach in this league. How have you kept them up?
It's been a lot of changes. It's been a lot of problem solving, a lot of creativity. I think we're at the point now where after any significant thing that happens, whether it's a loss, a couple of losses in a row, a tough schedule, a win, everyone's like, oh, the great reset. So we talked about this great reset after round 3, the great reset of 2023. And now since then, we're just like, this is the new reset. So basically just reestablishing, reconnecting, and redirecting ourselves when the need arises. I think that's allowed us to stay fresh and on point.
You've been in so many games, you've fought back from deficits to lead, and then you've lost leads and been run over by fast finishing teams, more experienced teams that have known how to win within this season. How did that change on Wednesday night against Bendigo when they made a few runs at you?
Oh gosh, it's all a bit of a whirl in terms of, I don't think anyone we go out hoping and doing everything we can to get a W on the board, but it's definitely not a game we thought we'd win. We had 3 players benched within the 24 to 48 hours before, in Bunt, Swags and Britt. We knew Tonksy was on thin ice with her calf, so we knew we were down to 9 players going into that, and severely undersized. So we mixed up, we changed the game plan, which inadvertently really suits the young group, and then just kind of took the shackles off and let them go. And they showed up and they did an amazing job.
Did they ever? It was unbelievable hearing on the day the outs that you had, particularly Bunton, because you are small in that department. So to take Bunts out of there. Aimie, you would know from when you have like an injury in a game, sometimes if you've got a niggle or a bit of a distraction, you end up focusing in on the job at hand a bit more. Was that kind of the go with Canberra? Like, you didn't have many rotations, but did it just force you to kind of get the job done?
Yeah, I think it helps players to get out of their own heads because they know they're going to rotate in. They also get a little bit more leeway, whereas Aimie and I both know when we've come off the benches, you get a little less opportunity to make mistakes. So that it took that away. You get more flow because you play minutes and there's less subs. There's always a lot of things that occur when you're missing players, and for us, but then also for the opposition, sometimes that can be distracting or upsetting because the scout changes for them. Who they're having to defend changes. So, it was difficult for Bendigo and obviously worked in our favour as well.
When did you think we've got this?
Oh, I didn't let myself go until the last 25 seconds. I remember distinctly feeling pretty good at the 7 minute to go mark and looking at the clock and going, this is going to be a long 6-7 minutes. And it was easily the longest 7 minutes of our season. It took forever to get to the end. And then even we missed those couple of free throws, which Razor, she's a 90+% career free throw shooter, and she missed those 2 and was still sat at 81 to 75. And I was like, oh no, like there's still time. And then I think we had possession and we were able to run the clock, and that's kind of at about the 25-second mark when I was like, yep, we'll take that one.
I was stressed, really.
Yeah. I'm sure everyone was.
I was just crying. So the buzzer goes, the crowd go wild. And we spoke with Gemma on the show last week about how unbelievable that Canberra crowd is, win, lose or draw. So you do it on your home court, you get on court and you get to embrace your players. So Jade, who you've got such a special relationship with, Ray, who's come up really tough in this first win of the season. Nicole Munger, who you've brought into the program. Like, there's just Shanice, there's stories everywhere. What's it like when you get on there and the emotion is overflowing and you get to embrace your players and really celebrate what this means?
It was to be honest, it was kind of weird because there was a moment there I was like, what are we meant to do? Like, the players hug each other, but then we've been at the players a lot. And then, and it was kind of cool after doing the talk, the pre-game talk. And then, so for me, the initial reaction straight after the game was to get to our coaches. So Aidan wasn't there, but to get to Angus and to get to Sarah, because they've been through the slog, and not only through the slog, but also having to manage and put up with me for the last 3 or 4 months, and Sarah for the last 10 years. So for me, it was to get to them, and then it was important to be sportsmanlike and shake Bendigo's hand and get all that done. And then once that was done, we finally got to get to the players, and it felt like a championship. That's the easiest way to describe it. It felt like the AIS championship back in the late 90s. Aimie knows this, when you get to have a championship hug with a player, it's special. It kind of solidifies all that hard work and all that adversity and all that struggle and all the bonds that you get through playing sport.
The only thing missing was that famous bob haircut of yours from 1999, Veal, in the bodysuit.
It was only last week before the game, and this is where Sarah thought I was having a meltdown. I've gone back and I was like, Sarah, I want to get a mini Chihuahua cross Dachshund. A little Mexican sausage dog. And she was like, no. And then I was like, I want to shave my head off again. And she was like, no. So she thought I was having an emotional breakdown. So we probably weren't far off having the bob.
This is the best content we've heard all year on the show. Are
you going to flash to a photo of that?
This is where we flash to all the haircuts of Kristen Veal over the last 25 years. I forgot about it was a shaved head, wasn't it?
3 times. I even did it a couple of years ago and realised how grey I was and that there's too much grey around here. So when you shave it, you lose your hairline. So,
Veal, just on the hair, how happy were you for your hair to be saturated when you came in the rooms afterwards to address the team? I think it was Cherie or Tonksy that filmed it. You've walked in the rooms, the players have just drenched you with ice and water and Powerade. I'm sure you're very happy to be soaking wet because it means that you've just had your first win.
Yeah, I was down in court and all the players went up to the change room, and for the life of me, I was talking to Angus, like, where are they going? Like, they've got to warm down, they've got to talk to the fans. Like, what are they doing? Just because we win, you can't change your routine. We've got a game in 3 days. So I was a bit baffled. And then I naive like I am, was like, okay, well, maybe we're just going up to have our team talk. So I went up there and then, as soon as I opened the door, I realised what was happening. I had that sliding doors moment where I either run and bolt the other way, and waste all that Gatorade and ice water, or if I step into it. So I stepped into it. They did a hell of a job. They're a smart group. They got me with pretty much every drop that was in there. And then it's really funny. If you look at the video, Ray's standing up on a chair, and after they'd emptied the bottles, random Ray, just pegs the emptied Gatorade bottle at my head, which is, there's a little laughs to be had in that filming.
Imports, hey. Lucky she made some good shots that night. Big round coming up. Obviously, you had Melbourne in Traralgon to finish last round, but a big round coming up. And Aimie, your teams will be coming face to face.
Yeah, Veal, I was a big fangirl when you got your first win, but I can't do that this week because you got us. Do you have any insights into how you're going to beat us? And can you share them with me?
I was about to ask the same question. I was like, what are you going to do with your bigs?
You've played with LJ enough to have your own intel, I think.
Well, Loz obviously we played together for a long time, but she'll even do it to these days. But Lauren has this, and Aimie would know this, Loz has this just innate strength that she used to come around and this is obviously when I was chubbier, would just come around and pick me up by the love handles. And like Loz never lifted heavy in the weight room until the last few years, but she could just come around and just lift you up, and like she'd like jump on your back to get a piggyback, but then she could easily put you on her back. So yeah, whether we have to send 3 people to her, I'm not too sure, but yeah, I don't know. We're trying to get through Bendigo, and then we were hoping we're going to front up to Southside with a team of 6-1 and under, but we are. So yeah, maybe we'll keep 4 people in the backcourt and go 1v1.
You could always put Sarah Graham on Lauren Jackson. That's my personal preference. Now, you mentioned bunts, so no bunts this week. Have you got any inclusions? Because we know you missed a few players last week.
Yeah, Bunce had that little hip flexor tear, so she was always going to be a couple of weeks on that, which is a shame because we always spoke about the 3 matchups for her against LJ. We're going to be, really valuable for her career moving forward and a really rare opportunity. So disappointed for Bunce, and she's been a big part of what we're doing and had really good games against Southside so far. So potentially we'll have Tonksy and Britt back. But yeah, just working through a couple of those at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully you've got some inclusions for what is a big round coming up for the UC Caps. And finally, Veal, before we let you go, Mama COE had a very proud moment last week with a couple of your girls selected in the Opal squad for the first time. How amazing was it to see Shanice and also Izzy Borlase selected for their first Opal squad?
Oh, it was awesome. And then Nards as well. Yeah, and then Jade was a part of that cohort, but very early on. Super excited to see those four in their Opal squad this year, and just see that Opal squad open up to so many young, talented players that are playing well, like the Perth kids in Bibby and Atwell, and then some of the other players that are coming through, ready to kind of crack in and learn off those, amazing senior Opals that have had a tremendous year this year with the World Cup. So so proud of those four, and hopefully there's more to come.
There sure will be. You've played a huge impact on their careers so far and their journey into the Opal squad for the first time. Veal, thanks so much for joining us today. We couldn't not speak to you this week. So wrapped for you and the Caps to get your first win. Good luck this weekend, and here's to many more for both you and the team.
Thanks, guys. You sitting up this weekend, Aimie?
No, unfortunately.
Let's look ahead to round 11 now. Aimie Rocci, it starts on Wednesday night. Sydney hosting the Flyers at the Key Centre. Loving the Flames playing at the Key Centre.
Yeah,
should get
cool.
a good crowd there for Wednesday night WNBL. We spoke about Sydney earlier, much improved over the last 2 months, particularly from a defensive standpoint. I'm looking forward to the battle between Jocelyn Willoughby and Kayla Thornton.
Absolutely. Both so athletic, strong. It's going to be exciting to watch. I just love watching Kayla match up on anyone, though, to be honest. She's so cool to watch.
Now, last week with Gemma Potter, I was talking about how I got so much airtime out of Alicia Froling hip and shouldering Kayla and the reaction. Now, you were on the bench.
I was.
Did you run on to...
I ran on, and then I thought, am I going to get fined for running on? But I'm pretty sure the siren had gone. But then the second thought was, what am I going to do? Like, if Kayla Thornton is going to run through someone, there's not a lot that little Amy's going to be able to do. So I looked a bit silly. I was just sort of running around the court, like, not doing a lot.
Now, Nards was the one that cracked me up. I spoke to Carly Ernst about this, that Kayla was ready to go.
Yeah.
Nards was not.
Nards was not ready.
There's a picture, if you zoom in.
Shock.
Her eyes, she was not ready.
Pure
She
shock.
was not ready for that. And my other favourite was Shez. How quickly she knew.
She moved fast.
She moved fast. Thursday, loving Thursday WNBL action. Bendigo and the Caps. Again.
Ooh. Interesting.
I think Bendigo are going to have a point to prove
I think
yourself.
So.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll let it happen again.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It could be a big margin, I reckon.
Yeah.
They're going to make a statement here.
Yep.
Friday night, Townsville and Adelaide at the Townsville Entertainment Centre. It was an important win for the Fire last week, beating Sydney in Sydney, particularly because they've got Perth breathing down their neck for fourth place. So, and then Adelaide have had a couple of losses now on the trot. I reckon Townsville will get it done at home. What about you?
I think so. Pretty tough playing in Townsville, and they're going really well. So, I don't know. Adelaide's due.
Yeah.
And are they still in the hunt for finals?
Yeah, I think so.
can?
Yeah.
But I think Townsville and Perth now with that battle for fourth spot, and I don't know what the top four look like, how much we can all move, but those two teams in particular will be playing for something important.
I can't count, so I'm not even going to try and work that out.
I'm not good with the ladder.
No.
We all just need a win. That's the aim.
Let's move on to Saturday action. Sydney's second game of the weekend is against Perth, who are on a bit of a road trip over the next 2 rounds. This is going to be super interesting because Perth are making a run.
Yeah.
Will Scherf go for 33 like she did last time against Sydney?
Did you watch her 27-point half?
Oh, did I ever?
I was in awe. Like, I played with Lauren Scherf when she was younger. We won a Siebel championship together. So I watch her from afar and I'm like, this girl is just going to be so good. And I'm so happy for her that she's she plays like a guard, shooting floaters, shooting threes. She played amazing. So, yeah, I think Perth are hitting their stride at the right time.
The princess of Bendat, as I like to call Lauren Scherf. She's happy.
Why?
Well, she's the princess of that venue. Also, shout out to the West Australian. I don't know if you saw this on my socials, but they did a great photo shoot with Scherfie last week.
I did see that.
They dressed her up as, it's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Lauren Scherf. They found a phone box in Perth and had her ripping the white shirt off with the Perth
Yes, very
singlet
cool.
underneath. Love that.
Yeah.
Great job, Craig Donahue and the West Australian for that. Also on Saturday, UC Caps return to the nation's capital to host your Flyers, who are on the road this weekend. You have been on the road a bit over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, big January for the Flyers. They're on the road for 6 days, so they go to Sydney and then drive to Canberra, and there was no point coming home and going back. No home games in January, I don't think.
Not until Feb 4.
Feb 4, and it's not even at home.
It's not even at home.
John
It's
Cain.
at JCA.
Yeah. So big month, very important month.
Big weekend after that loss to Perth. To get 2 road wins this weekend will get you guys back on track.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. And then we finish off on Sunday at Parkville, where the Boomers again play the Spirit. They didn't play each other in the first half of the season, and now twice since Christmas.
Yeah, big
Melbourne got the job done last time. That was part of Bendigo's 3-game losing run. Could it be a bit closer this time?
I think so. I think it'll be a great game.
Looking forward to that to finish off Sunday, round 11 WNBL. Aimie Rocci, it's been a pleasure to have you here.
Always a pleasure chatting with you, Megan.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. Good luck to the Flyers this weekend. Hope to see you back on court very soon, and please come back again
I will.
and co-host this season.
Thank you very much.
Sounds good to me. Enjoy the big weekend of action, everyone.